on my wildest dreams. Maybe that one could have carried me to streets of gold. Things aren't always as they seem. Looking back on all the chances that I missed, some I held, some slipped away. One street over where my memories exist, I wondered what would change. I really couldn't say. In this life there's nothing certain, except the curtain that rises to the stage. So they gave no second guessing, I just forget the lessons that I couldn't learn. Because one street over there's a life I could have known, that would have kept me from the one I had today. Times gone by, I've traded like dirt into clay. I thought my memories would end. One street over's now 1,000 miles away. When I close my eyes, I'm back to where I've been. In this life there's nothing certain, except the curtain that rises to the stage. So they ain't no second guessing, I just forget the lessons that I couldn't learn. Because one street over there's a life I could have known, that would have kept me from the one I had today.
Oh, good morning. Let's just get to it. This is 1100 WSGI. I'm you, Trent LaVern. This is One Street Over, and we appreciate you joining us. Thank you for being a part of what we're doing here. Trying to keep the community up to date on things going on in our community. That's what this show is all about. People always ask me, they say, are you still doing radio? I'm like, yes. And I'm honestly and truthfully, I'm having more fun doing radio now than I've had in a very long time. Now, when I first got into it, it was kind of cool too, because I was the kid working in Nashville and all that kind of stuff. But the traffic got kind of old. I'll be honest with you. I was a little bored.
Just be glad you're not doing traffic now for Nashville.
Oh, dear God.
That would be-
Thank you, Lord. Yeah. I've had them call me. Trent Cobb is in the house. Everybody say hello.
Hello.
Trent Cobb, and he is on the fair board. He is, what is your new job? Tell me again.
I am the Robertson County Codes Inspector.
Codes Inspector, Robertson County. He does not inspect properties he's building. Stop it. Of course not, because you're not the only one. How many are there?
We have one more. Her Susan Spicer in the county.
And he still has Cobb Hill Homes that they do building and all kinds of stuff. Mm-hmm. And your son is involved with what you do, right? Or your daughter?
My daughter, Kristen.
Your daughter.
Yeah.
And then they also have the real estate.
We have Cobb Hill Homes Real Estate.
Right.
So my daughter and wife are involved in that.
They got a lot of stuff going on. I love that though. That's we're kindred spirits in that, because I like I like being busy. But as we are talking, I don't need to talk about old radio. It's like, I get it on my mind because people do ask me around town. It's really funny that they're like, they remember the U-turn thing. I had somebody that was in Memphis, I think. I forget where they were. And somebody said something about, well, you go down the hall and you make a U-turn and you do this, and somebody behind him goes, U-turn LaVern. Mm-hmm. And he goes, are you from Nashville?
Yeah.
And it was just kind of funny. It's just weird. But I did that for a long time.
Yeah.
I was tired of it. So I'm glad to be doing this. This is fun. That was the point. Yeah, we're not going to have any hard time at all filling an hour, because it's 5 after, and I mean, I've just been prattling on about nonsense.
Yeah. Well, we're good at that. We're real good at that.
We're sitting on the porch talking. Trent Cobb is a good friend of mine. When I first heard about what you guys do at the fair board, you were the president. And yes. I think when we first started talking, you came in just to kind of keep me up to date. You do a 2-year rotation of president, but you were in the year that will not be mentioned during, the
I was
lost year.
To my knowledge, the only 3-year president we ever had.
You stuck in it on that third year because you lost one of the years because we didn't get to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've gotten to be friends, and you just got so much going on in the community. I was really tickled when I heard that you got the coach job because, I mean, we need good people in that know what they're talking about, and you having the building history. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I can't, I think it's critical, really.
It is. I mean, and to, there's so many things that you have to watch and look at, in the building industry, if you're building it safe, if your loads are right, like they're supposed to be, if your spans are right, just
all kinds of things. Yeah. So if you have questions about something you're building, I mean, the whole process, I've not built anything from the ground up in a long time, don't intend to, but if you do, that's where you start. You've got to. It was just like I had wanted to. We had talked about taking and trying to turn our barn into some kind of venue. We got this really cool old barn, and I don't know. It's probably your predecessors like, you just need to tear it down. You can't get it up to code. Yeah. I was like, well, I'm not tearing down my barn, so we'll just use it for something else. And I take pictures in there and that's something I can do, just me, But nonetheless, I digress. That's what he does. He does all these things, and because he's involved in so many things, you grew up here.
I grew up here,
so you know everybody.
Yeah,
sorta, or kin to them.
Yeah. So
watch what you say around me. But I'm just teasing. But so whenever the tornado happened, you guys, I don't know where I really want to start, Trent, because I've got so many questions. We're still trying to sort out where we are as far as the tornado, because I mean we're just days into it. So what's going to happen? What's the timeline? I was asking some of my kids that work at Kroger. I said, when is Kroger going to reopen? And they're like, this week. I'm like, really? I'm stunned. I was stunned. And then I've got one of my kids, his brother was in Valvoline and was in the pit underneath Valvoline. Yeah. And I said, well, and he goes, yeah, he's going to be without work. I said, well, they not send him to another store? So those kinds of things. But let's start with what happened with the Fair Board on Sunday morning and what you guys did. Kind of unpack that for people. What happened there? Because that's just Jesus.
Well,
defeated Jesus.
Sunday morning actually started for us about 5:30, 6 o'clock Saturday afternoon. And out on our farm, the storm had passed us by about 4:30.
Right.
And with Jackson, my son, me and Dinah went down to his house because he has a basement. But after the storm passed, we was heading back up to our house, and all of a sudden I noticed him and a couple other guys were headed down our driveway. And I thought, well, what are y'all doing? He said, well, we're going to go back to taking down tobacco. So I went out there, started helping take down tobacco. I did not have my phone with me at all. Mm-hmm. So, and the way the storm was at our house, there was nothing. Yeah.
It's over.
It's over with. So didn't know anything. And about 6 o'clock, I went out to my truck to get something. I thought, well, I'm going to check my phone and just see what's going on. I'd missed 48 text messages. And all of a sudden it's like, oh no, what's going on? Mm-hmm. So I pulled it up and looked at it, and it was our Fair Board. First of all, they was all checking on each other. We're just one huge family. And one guy sends out a text, okay, how is everybody? So we all start responding to that. We're all fine, we're good, everybody's safe. And then Mr. Fred Head, which is one of our longtime Fair Board members, he had the idea. He said, we ought to feed breakfast to the first responders and the guys that are going to be out working in this all night long. Just let them come in. So it went from there. And like I say, I mean, the storms were just barely over with. And we was already trying to make plans.
Mobilizing.
And like I say, at the fairgrounds, we have this great location where we've got huge parking lots. So, the big equipment, the guys driving the fire trucks and ambulances and the electric workers and all that are in big trucks, they can just pull in down there, have plenty of place to park, and then we come in. And like I say, we all got down there probably around 5:30 Sunday morning. and started just cooking breakfast. Didn't really have a major plan except for we knew we wanted to do this. And so, I don't know how many dozens of eggs, how many pounds of bacon, how many sausages, how many biscuits, pancakes. We just put on an old country breakfast is what we did.
It's wonderful.
And Chad Gregory, who is a Fair Board member, he is also the fire chief at North Robertson, and is tied in heavily with the radio dispatch and everything for Robertson County. So it was easy to just say, "Hey, Chad, let everybody know. Come, 6:30, 7 o'clock, we'll have breakfast ready, and anybody that needs it can." First responders and electric workers. So they started coming in about 7 o'clock, and just they was wore out, tired.
Bless their hearts.
And been out all night long. And that's the thing about it. When the storm first came through, it wasn't that cold outside. But then as the night went on, it was getting colder and colder, and people were without power. So it was, They did a wonderful job. And then, like I say, and we're just so thankful to have the location that we do, and the Fair Board. I have to say this every single time, that we are not supported, we are not owned by any government facility or city or county. The Robertson County Fair Association owns the grounds. It's 100% volunteer. And, people come through, they say, well, it's so nice of the county to let y'all use these buildings. And it's like, the county, we love our county, and we're going to do everything we can to help our county and our surrounding cities. But, it is 100% volunteer.
Yeah.
So
I love that. And how many of you guys are on the Fair Board? Do you know the number?
There's 22, 23, something like that, members.
Right.
And it's basically a full-time job.
You have to really be vetted too. I know that it's one of those things because they don't want you on there just to say, I'm on the Fair Board. You got to participate.
Yeah,
you got to have some skin in the game. And it's not just something that you just join and then you're not a part of it.
Yeah, you don't just show up and we vote you on. Yeah. You show up and you have a year of volunteering, and going through. And then after that, then you're basically kind of a probationary situation to where to see if you want to do it.
Yeah, to see if really this is something that is really a good thing for you.
Yeah.
But I'm so proud of you guys. And, it's so interesting because our emergency management director, Chance Holmes, was in here on Monday. Lee Marie put that together. Thank you, sweetheart. That was awesome getting him in here that quickly. Yeah. And he mentioned you guys and said that it was like, 2 or 3 o'clock on Sunday when he finally was able to sit down and have a hot meal. He goes, you just have no idea. He goes, because they've been going all night and just running hard. And it was the first time he had to sit down and just kind of go, and get some warm food in his stomach, and we just don't think about that. And again, I keep leaning back on what happened in Mayfield, and I have experiences through my family, but I wasn't there. But to hear their stories and what you go through in an emergency management situation when there's been such devastation, and while we are so blessed that we did not have a loss of life, still, oh my gosh, the shock. I've got one of my kids that they had such a close call in his family. He won't even talk about it. He goes, Miss Vivio, I don't want to talk about it. Because I'm trying to get them to kind of tell their stories and stuff. And I said, do you not want to talk about it because I'm going to make you write it down? or do you just not want to talk about it because of the trauma? And I really think it's trauma for him. I don't think he's just not wanting to write, know?
Yeah, when you go down Memorial Boulevard and out towards Kroger's and all that, and just to see that, it was pretty rough through there.
Well, he lives over by the tobacco warehouse.
Yeah.
And he was saying that they actually were in the car getting ready to leave and just weren't paying attention. They just knew that, there was a storm. And he said his mother forgot something, had to go back in the house. And it was only a span of, 30 seconds, just something like that. And he says a steel beam came across from the warehouse. And he goes, we could have been right there. He goes, it really hit him that, wow, if she hadn't stopped for a minute, that's about where we would have been.
Mm-hmm.
We could have gotten hit by that beam. And I thought, oh, that is, we say PTSD. There's going to be some of that from this. Those guys that were under Valvoline, the kids that were in the car wash. I had one of my kids that was in there, and it's so interesting. They put up a video. Go to my page and find my Bobcat kids talking about their experiences. But he was working in the tidal wave car wash, and when they were putting out the warnings, he's got a little video of himself going down in their little cellar there going, ooh, tornado, kind of making a joke of it. Mm-hmm. And then just a moment later, they're going, oh, there it is, Yeah. And so it's just that shock of going, this is a real thing. And then talking about going over to Valvoline and seeing them coming out of the ground.
Yeah, and the ones that ran across the parking lot from Jet's Pizza.
God bless them. That saved them.
Yeah.
That place was gone.
Yes.
That's incredible. I mean, you think about that. Man. And, I heard from one of the ladies, what was her name, that was in the doctor's office. Let me see here. Let me look. She was talking about how that she actually, they hunkered down in one of the patient rooms. Says the scariest thing she's ever been through in her life. And can you imagine? I can't find her name right now, but I may try to call her and, get her in here at some point as we kind of, recap
Dr. Browning is my doctor, so, I mean, just.
Is that their facility right there?
That's their facility right there. So
well, maybe because they messaged me. They're like, we hid in one of the patient rooms. And fortunately, they picked the right room because if it had come from the other side, they'd have been wiped out. I mean, just God was all over this, man.
He was everywhere.
Robson County.
Yes, he was. People get to say, well, God allowed this tornado to happen. No, God didn't allow the tornado to happen. God took care of the people in the tornado.
Yes, he did. And people say, well, what about the ones that didn't make it? We can't understand all that, guys, and don't try. Just pray for God's protection in all things and just trust Him. Trust Him that, this is a time of the year that I'm so reflective about those that are, coming to their holiday Christmas tables and there's missing people. Mm-hmm. And that happens everywhere. I mean, my dad's been gone, 12 years and my sister, and it's still heartbreaking to us. Yeah. And you've lost your brother, and I mean, so many. You just don't try to understand it, guys. Just trust. And in this scenario, God just absolutely protect. You cannot look at Valvoline and Jet's Pizza and Holman Jewelers. Oh my word!
And there's people.
Holmans.
Yeah, there was people in these buildings, that you're looking at.
So. Do you know, was Brian actually in Holman's? I had heard that he wasn't. Now I know Celeste was.
Yeah, Celeste was,
but somebody told me Brian had. I would love to talk to them, but I certainly don't want to say, hey, come in here and tell us.
They're a little busy right now.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Well, one of my kiddos, the one that did the little video piece, him and Honor Summers did that. Jackson Dawson and Honor Summers that did this piece, and he again was at the car wash, and as they were cleaning up the next day, he found 3 little diamond rings, but called Brian and said, hey, are these yours? And it turns out they're not even real, but but he was so honest about it and had a conversation with Brian. And I've had a couple little texts with Celeste, but God bless them. I mean, that's the whole family. They all work there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And what do you do?
They've been in business a long time.
Yeah, they have. They've been my jeweler ever since I got here. Mm-hmm. I mean, they have. They've done my rings, my wedding rings. They made them. I love them to pieces. But anyway, just pray for everybody. Talking with Trent Cobb. He is with Cobb Hill Homes. He is our codes inspector, one of the codes inspectors for Robeson County. Let's see, Cobb Hill Homes as in real estate, as in building, and all the things. And I also asked you about the agricultural impact of this.
Yeah.
So, and with Fair Board, we were talking about what the Fair Board did, pulling together, feeding our first responders. Oh my gosh. And are y'all still doing that?
Yes.
Go ahead and tell that real quick.
Like I say, we started out, we was going to feed them breakfast. Okay.
That was it.
We got through, got fed breakfast that morning, and then the city, Ryan Martin from the city, and
city manager.
Yeah. He called, and he was down there, and he said, what about, if we could do lunch, down here? And we said, well, yeah, we can stay. We can, leave the building open. We can do lunch. So we fed lunch, and then it was like, well, they're going to need supper. So, okay, Sunday afternoon, right after lunch, a couple of our Fair Board members, it was Carol and Miranda, drove to Clarksville to Sam's. They didn't go to Hendersonville way because, you know, you don't know if they're going to be.
Yeah.
Checked to make sure, Clarksville, exit 4, everything was okay.
Yeah.
So they went to Sam's and bought hamburgers, hot dogs, french fries, baked beans, and all of that.
All the things.
Bought all of that and brought it back. And then we showed back up about 3:30 and started cooking and fed everybody supper. Then it was like, okay, we've got through the first day. Then other businesses like Chick-fil-A, I don't want to start naming them because there's so many.
Yeah.
And we will have a list put out there of the ones that came through and provided food. Like I say, Chick-fil-A, Public House, one of the Mexican restaurants in town. Like I say,
long list.
A long list. And so we said, well, okay, we'll leave the building open. So now different restaurants in town are bringing the food to the fairgrounds. And like I say, this morning I got down there, and they're going to laugh at me because I was late getting down there, just 15 minutes after 6 or something like that. And there was already, everybody else was already there. The parking lot was full of trucks, and I walk in and all the workers are in there. And then, Chick-fil-A comes pulling in and setting breakfast out and everything. So,
oh, God bless them. Yeah. Jesus is chicken. We're glad you're here.
Yep, that's exactly right. So, but yeah, like I say, it just, Fred had the one idea of feeding breakfast, and then it's just like, loaves and fishes, it just kept, it's being provided for.
Well, so. I just can't say enough about how that I just love our community and what we do and how well we do it. And it is just, and I say we, like I'm not doing anything, but just really appreciate the way you guys stepped up and did all this. Cause it is amazing.
And we're getting to know all of the out of town workers.
Well, yeah.
Because, we see them 3 times a day.
Right.
And it is funny at supper last night, there were several of them that we just started talking to, and it's like, we already know where they're from, how many kids they got, because, they left, their nice warm home and come down here to work in not great conditions. Yeah. So, and just keeping them fed, is the one thing that we knew we could do, but we cannot say enough about, the linemen and the utility workers that are out there. So,
one of my students, I was telling you about, I have Honor Summers and Jackson Dawson that have put this piece up about the tornado. Honor's dad is something with the city electric, with the Springfield Electric, and I forget exactly his position, but she even mentioned that he was in after the tornado, and he's like, I got to go to work. And she said she didn't see him until like 2 the next day. Yeah. And he slept for like 2 hours and was back out.
Yeah.
And that's what they're doing. And it's just amazing.
Yeah.
And man, I just,
Yeah, you get to thinking about how dependent we are on electricity.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, for everything now. And then, then you get to thinking about, okay, all these people, that have medical conditions, that need oxygen, that have special needs that require electricity, Now, I know they have battery backups, but, they start running out. You've got to
recharge it.
Yeah. So we had people come into the fairgrounds, just to plug in, their phones and their computers and stuff to recharge them back up. And we was like, yeah. Y'all come on in. We'll find you a place to sit down and plug it up. And then the city, they got the center opened up to where you could go up to the center and stay if you need a warm place to stay and stuff like that. So
it's amazing. You get a little taste of what it's. I mean, you see what it's like to be homeless when you don't have your,
yeah, what
you need and where you have to go and find resources elsewhere And I'm just so thankful we didn't lose anybody. I hear the stories of, the little boy, the 10-year-old that was lost up in Clarksville, just rips my heart out. Everybody in his house survived but him. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Can you imagine? And then I had, some friends of mine that were talking about how they were right. The tornado just kind of went around them. And he was telling last night at Epiphany, that we have CR, Celebrate Recovery, at Epiphany Baptist on Tuesday nights. And he was talking about how they were in their hall wearing helmets, hoping it didn't hit them. But in the reality of it, if it had hit that house, would that have been enough
Yeah.
to protect them? And I had that conversation with several of my kiddos that were, I had one that I mean, it's just a miracle that they didn't get hit. But he was talking about how that his father's disabled. And the first thing was, what are we going to do with, how can we get dad to safety? And I'm like, man, just all these things, the things you don't think about. If a tornado is bearing down on you, how are you going to take care of all of these things? Where are you going to go? What's your best option?
Yeah.
And
no matter
to think about, guys.
And no matter how well you build a structure, you can use the hurricane clips. You can do rafter ties.
Yeah, that's another conversation
anything like that. But a tornado, it's you need a tornado shelter. One that's EF5 rated, to withstand it, to get in, because no matter how good you build that building, if a tornado's coming through and it's a direct hit, there's not enough nails and braces to hold it together. We
with what went through a couple of years ago, and that's when there's so many places we could go here. Think about the timing of how close it was to the anniversary of the one that went through that took out 150 miles, including my hometown. And when you look at that's one question I had for Director Holmes on Monday. We look at the downtown square of Mayfield, and the only building really that survived was a bank building that was built very well. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of like I put it in comparison to our museum, which was the original post office.
Yeah.
And the structure of it. Mm-hmm. And it withstood the tornado that nothing else did. And so you look at that building structure, and can you afford to do buildings like that? Yeah. And then you look at the back of warehouse; it's a metal building, and it just folded.
Yeah, it just folded, and it was full of tobacco. People had already been taking tobacco in, so there was definitely a lot of loss in that. Yeah. Now I'm sure they'll be able to salvage some that was in the boxes, but the bales that were just out there, they're just gone. So
we had that with the grain elevator where my brother sells grain up in Mayfield. There was go and look at that video of the massive amount of corn that was just sitting there, and I'm not sure what they ended up doing with it, but it was just a massive agricultural loss.
Yeah,
massive. And I just, the implications of all this, guys, just pray for all the victims. Again, the families that lost loved ones, and there were 6 that were lost in this deluge, and take it seriously. Think about what you're going to do, and just have a plan. My husband and I, we were on the road. We had left Sam's in Hendersonville, because we go to the church, Madison Church of Christ. And one of my grandkids had a basketball game in Mount Juliet that morning. So we were going to do Christmas shopping and make our way home. So we had left Sam's. We weren't paying attention. We were not paying attention to the weather at all. I just wanted to get in the car at Sam's because it was starting to lightning. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I don't like being in the parking lot during lightning. I should have checked. Well, so we get in the car and start heading down Vietnam Vets, and we're going to go to GFS to pick up something. And Gordon Food Center service. And right there on Bluebird off Rivergate Parkway. Yeah. And so we were headed that way, and I called a friend of mine in Ridgetop, and I said, hey, we're going to stop by your house on the way home to do something, And she says, well, we'll be in the basement. And I'm like, what are you doing in the basement? She goes, have you not been paying attention? I'm like, no. And I started looking and called Bill Jones, God bless him. He's like, LaVern, there's a tornado on top of you right now. And I said, we've got to get off Vietnam Vets right now. And I wanted to go to the Madison Church of Christ to hide in the basement. Well, we didn't have time. And Mark, God bless him, he goes, something told me, get safe right now. And he pulls up under the underpass of Vietnam Vets, up in the rocks, man. And then there was all kinds of cars followed us. And I saw the explosions, there as it was. And it was far enough away from us that I didn't see a lot of wind and stuff as much as what a lot of people did. But what do you do? I posted a little video about it, mainly to make people think about, if you're on the road in a tornado, where are you going to go? And I asked Dr. Director Holmes about that. I said, was that a safe thing to do? And he said, absolutely. Yeah. And you hear about getting in ditches and all that. What do you do if you're caught out in the open in that? You got to think about these things, guys.
And like I say, you can and a ditch is definitely a good place to be. But if the force of those tornadoes, it can just suck you right up out of that ditch. But it's better than out in the wide open.
Yeah.
So
and we had one of our sons on the phone because I said, I don't know what's going to happen, but I want you to be on the phone with me in case something terrible happens. So at least you know where we were.
Yeah.
When this started.
Where to start looking.
Yeah.
So.
And so, but it's just, if you take nothing else from this experience, guys, think about your plan. If you're out somewhere, if you're in your home, where are you going to go? If you have disabled loved ones that you need to take care of, that's one thing. When my student mentioned that to me yesterday, I was like, that was their first thought. He goes, when I saw it, I was like, Dad. And they're Hispanic. And of course it was in the Spanish, and I was like, oh, and I think he's going to tell that story. I don't know, but I think we're going to have a video of that. He's going to tell his story. So just think about it, y'all. Think about it. Yeah. And go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm just.
Hey, we
got an hour, Trent.
We've got an hour. we've used half of it already. So, but yeah, like I say, getting back to the Fair Board, that's just what we do.
Yes.
And we're always looking for volunteers, but we joke around and said, now, if you're not willing to spend, a lot of your time, some of your money, and and just be here whenever is needed, then it might not be for you.
Yeah.
So, but
well, y'all were kind of born into it to some degree, right?
Yeah, a lot of us were.
Yeah.
A lot of us were, and like I say, if you get on there and like I say, we are literally now we're a dysfunctional family, and I'm not going to sit here and say that it's just everybody just always gets along and everything's great. It's not. You throw a group like that together, and you're coming up with ideas. Somebody's going to have an idea that somebody else doesn't like, and you'll have your arguments and stuff. But at the end of the day, like I say, as soon as the storms were passing by, we're one family that was checking on everybody. Don't matter if you was mad at somebody, an hour before. Mm-hmm. It's that doesn't matter when it was all said and done. It was just like we love each other and we're going to be there to do whatever we can.
I love that when you were saying that. I thought I never knew Ira North. He was like one of the preachers at Madison for years and years and is, iconic there. But he used to say, everybody gets their say, but not everybody gets their way.
That's exactly
but you got to be Christ-like in it. And I just think that's so funny. And that's the way you got to think about it. So, I'm talking with Trent Cobb about all things that have been happening. When we come back, I need to do a break real quick. But when we reset, I want us to specifically talk about we touched on the agricultural implications, but I know that, you've got a son that is involved in the tobacco industry. Mm-hmm. So if there's anything that we missed on that, let's touch on that. And also if you can kind of give us an update on the firehouse out there that was hit. And because I know the fire station, do you know some specifics about that?
I know a little bit. Bubba, but one of our Fair Board members.
Yeah, let me do my break real quick. We're talking with Trent Cobb, and he is all things Robertson County. Robertson County, and we'll continue our conversation with him until the top of the hour. But I do want to pause and talk about my friends Barry and Rebecca Richards with the Exit Realty Garden Gate team. Now, they are full-time sponsors of this program. We appreciate them so much, and they are here to help you with anything you have going on, whether it's buying or selling, whatever comes to the table. It's always kind of awkward. I'm going to go ahead and turn this up because when you're in here, because you're in real estate and all of that, but Barry and Rebecca both, they say, whether or not you use us, use somebody that knows Robertson County. And they would recommend you guys. And I appreciate that. So it's always, there's a thing you don't do in radio. You don't, talk about different people that are in the same industry, but you kind of have to in this regard. And so I think that's always something that I appreciate about Barry and Rebecca. They're like, use somebody that knows Robertson County. They're up in Cross Plains. They've been there for 27 plus years. The Cobbs have been here forever. And know somebody that understands the nuances of Robertson County. So the Richards, they specialize in Robertson County properties, but also buy and sell in the surrounding counties across the state line in Kentucky. We were talking with the Richards, about a month ago about some of the things going on in real estate. And I said, what are the implications if you're living in Kentucky, but you're working in Tennessee? And he's like, well, you're going to have to pay that income tax. And that's something you have to think about. You may be able to go across the state line and get property at a little bit, little bit less cost. But then what's the implications of having to pay that extra tax, that extra income tax? But then you save on the sales tax. All those things are things that when you come to the buying and selling table that you need to know, because we are really close to the border right here in Robertson County. But Barry's got the marketing background too. That helps him tremendously when it comes to making sure your property is seen in the best light, whether it comes to the photography, the videography, the drone footage, the walkthrough tours, all of those things. They're going to help you out with that. And how can you find them? Just Google them. Barry Richards, Exit Realty Garden Gate Team, Rebecca Richards, Exit Realty Garden Gate Team. They're independent agents of each other. They do help each other, but independent agent. She's out of White House. He's here in Springfield. He's actually the broker here in Springfield, has an office on the downtown square. And Rebecca, if you want to pull her webpage up, you'll find her number right at the top of the page, 615-504-7425, 615-504-7425. Tons of ways to get in touch with them. You can go to sellwithbecky.com, buyrobertsoncounty.com, all the things. Talk to them about historic properties that they've helped with, whether it be homes or businesses that they've helped sell. Great friends of this program, Barry and Rebecca Richards, Exit Realty Garden Gate Team. When you talk to them, please always let them know that U-Turn sent you. Talking with Trent Cobb, all things Robertson County, about all things going on. Well, the Fair Board just really stepped it up. And I was just excited to hear that they were taking care of our first responders. It's just such a necessity when you have a situation like we have, because guys are working around the clock trying to get power restored. Do you know really where they are as far as power restoration? Do they have?
I think they will have everything hopefully wrapped up. I know we're going to feed today and probably breakfast in the morning.
Okay.
And then after that, I think most of the crews that are in town right now will be heading back home. And so it'll just be the Springfield bunch. And like I say, but they should have everything. Everybody should be back on with power.
Okay.
So,
and it may be that they'll go up to Clarksville, because was that, I don't really know the Clarksville situation, but it seems to be it was a primary neighborhood that just got wiped out.
yeah.
And I mean, literally wiped out. And so there may be things for them to do up there. That's amazing to me. These guys that do that, they travel everywhere. I mean, they just, if your county wasn't affected and you're able, they're like, okay, send me. Hands and feet of Jesus, man. I mean so many of them.
One of the crews I know that we've got to talk to a whole lot is from Benton County, down around the Camden area, so, I mean, and it was, Sunday afternoon or late Sunday afternoon, they was telling us they was already getting the calls. Okay, be getting your crews together.
Yeah.
And they asked, well, where are we going? We said, we don't know yet.
Yeah.
You just be ready to go. And, you're going to be Clarksville, Hendersonville, Robertson County. You're going to be somewhere. So, and they just said, okay, you just tell us which direction to go and we'll be there.
And it sounds like as far as the schools go, we were never out. And a lot of the kids are like, why didn't we get out Monday? And I had Dr. Weeks in on Tuesday, and he said, he goes, you know what? Some of these kids that don't have power and don't have a warm meal, he says, they can go to school and get it. I thought, man, that's a really good point. And
that's exactly right.
Yeah, and the implications of it were primarily Springfield. I know my husband teaching at Springfield, he said he had a lot of kids that were, out on Monday. But when Dr. Weeks mentioned that, he's like, this is the kid, for a lot of kids, school is the place where they get fed and nurtured and, and you've got to take that seriously. And when you're not having school, some of them are not eating.
Yeah.
I mean,
my sister-in-law, Lisa, she's retired now, but, she was, the school liaison, basically a DHS worker for the schools.
Amazing.
And just hear some of the stories, of, like I say, if they weren't in school, they literally wouldn't have anything to eat that day, And
that's one thing when I've talked to folks with her office and different ones with the I forget what they call it, the family center that they have there at school. I've had some of them in during the summer, and they're like, we just worry about our kids when they're not here. And, I was talking to one of my students yesterday about they still didn't have power. He's the one I told you that just doesn't really want to talk about it. And I said, do you need a generator? We have a little small generator still. One of our generators is in Hendersonville somewhere. we gave it to one of our friends, and it went somewhere else, and, and it's being passed around right now. But, and he goes, yeah, we got a generator. And and he goes, one of my uncles is bringing us food. And I was just, so many things, So anyway, just be thankful in prayer over all the things. Let's touch again. Okay, what about the fire hall? Do you know, is it functioning? Are they there?
It's functioning now. They've got temporary doors up.
Okay.
I ran into a couple of them at Lowe's Sunday afternoon. Because at the fairgrounds, there was a few things that we needed to, we had a bunch of people coming in.
Yeah.
So we needed to get this and that and extra supplies and stuff. So I was up there, and a couple of the firehouse guys from Station 2 were in there. I said, well, what are y'all doing in here? And they said, well, we're getting lumber to build doors, on the fire hall because it sucked them off, So
Wow.
you think about, you got to get it up and running. You can't just close it off.
No.
Your
emergency responder.
Yeah. So they got hit, which obviously, they was out all night long working, and then all Sunday afternoon they were still working, getting it where their firehouse, their station could still function. So
you talk about families, these firehouses, they're family.
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. I know I have a few that I'm pretty close to, and oh my gosh, they're family in those firehouses. I just love them to pieces, and they work round the clock. I mean, we've got one that's in my daughter-in-law's family, a fireman or EMT, and he, will be missing from so many family functions because, well, he's on shift and he's working, of course, in nurses and things like that. Cannot say enough about the people who do that kind of work. God bless them. If you've got them in your family, hug them and love on them. Yeah. I can't say enough about them. They're just awesome.
That's exactly right.
All right, so the fire hall's still functioning. Now, as far as the tobacco warehouse, you believe that they're going to be able to salvage some of the
They'll salvage some. They've got other warehouses in the county or in the city, that they can still receive tobacco. Some the farmers that, right now everybody's stripping tobacco and getting it ready to go to market, and like I say, Helen Cotton sustained some damage, and BSC really sustained a lot of damage.
BSC, the one that got flattened?
Yes, okay. Yes. And so, but like I said, they have other, thankfully Robertson County, and I will say this, people will think, well, it's tobacco, that's what made this county, and those tobacco farmers, so there's tobacco warehouses, scattered throughout the city, that they can take and store it there. People say, well, it's not good for you or anything, but it's still, somebody's livelihood. It's a farmer's. That's how he feeds his family.
Is tobacco only used for cigarette production and things like that, or is there some? Because it seems like there has to be other uses for tobacco that they explore. I don't know. My family doesn't raise it, and I don't know anything about it.
We've been around it and raised tobacco, and for forever. Yeah. And I joke around, and it's probably not good for me, but I started chewing tobacco when I was 10 years old, and I kid around and said, well, that was back before it was bad for you. So,
yeah. But it's so funny. I was showing the kids. There's a movie like on the history of broadcasting. It's very authentic, and it's called Good Night and Good Luck. It is very authentic in that they're even smoking in the newsroom and all this kind of stuff. And they're in the news production. There's a cigarette ad, and I told them, I said, "Isn't it interesting?" But we're going down a rabbit hole. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But anyway, but nonetheless, anytime you have storms that come through an agricultural area, there is agricultural implications.
Yes.
As we saw in Grace County. And because we lost, some of the chicken processing facilities and the grain elevator where my brother sold grain. So it changes. I don't know where he sells grain now.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a conversation.
You don't just put it back up overnight.
No, you do not. What happens, like once it's at that place where that got wiped out? Were the farmers already compensated that had that there, and it's the company's issue?
Now it's on the company,
and they're insured and all of those things.
And hopefully, they're completely insured and everything like that. But they take it and then they ship it out, to the other processing plants that turns it into cigars, chewing tobacco, snuff, cigarettes.
Right.
All of that.
Well, see, and that's the thing with the corn and things that my brother had sold. I don't think he took a loss. because that's where he sold it. But then it changed where it affects where you have to go to sell your,
and if you have to haul it, the further you have to haul it, it gets expensive.
It really does. So anyway, there's a lot of agricultural implications. Let's go back to the building implications of this. Yeah. When it comes to the structures, we talked a little bit about that. I mentioned the bank that survived in downtown Mayfield. But people can't afford to build to that degree.
No.
So what do you do as a builder? If somebody comes to you and they're like, okay, I want you to build my house and I want one that can withstand a tornado, what would you tell me?
I would say, well, we're going to dig you a hole and build you a 100% basement house. I mean, to completely withstand a tornado, but I mean, you can, I mean, block structures are definitely good, but, you would need to lay 2 courses, 2 walls wide, stuff like that to withstand the forces of it,
Really?
Around here, like I say, we are really good on our codes and we keep up with, we're in the 2018 IRC code, which is International Residential Codes. And that's what this is just one book of several that have the codes in them. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I know every single code, but I know where to find it in that book.
That's why it's got the
it's got the tabs
on it, and it's in his hands.
Yeah. So
absolutely.
Yeah, and it's funny, and where we're located, it's especially Robertson County. When you get into the seismic design categories, we're in either B or C, depending on which category you're in.
That's earthquake.
Yes, and so, it's either a 17% chance or a 33% chance. The further east, like for East Robertson and stuff like that, they're in B, and West Robertson is in C. It splits it right down the middle.
Really?
And then, the ground snow loads, it splits it right there. So we're either at a 15 pound per square foot or a 10 pound. Southern Robertson County is 10, Northern Robertson County is 15. So it's kind of funny how Robertson County is right there on the borderline.
Really?
Yeah. So
that's a lot of people through this area. They'll move into this area and they're like, oh, y'all have tornadoes. It's like, we have also got the risk of earthquakes.
Yeah,
too.
I mean,
Reelfoot Lake was formed by an earthquake. Y'all.
Yes, and if you look at the map, it's got the different seismic zones, and like I say, out in West Tennessee, there's there's your D's, your seismic zones D's, and then like I say, as you get further out, they get less and less. So.
That's fascinating. I forget about the fact that we do have earthquakes here. I was a teenager, and my room was in the upstairs of the old farmhouse that is still there. My mother still lives in it. And I was in the bathroom sitting doing my makeup or something, and I felt a tremor, and I was like, and I went downstairs. I'm like, the whole room was shaking. I was telling them, they're like, oh, you're crazy. And then later on that news that night, it'd been an earthquake. I'm like, I felt it. So, I mean, you can have that. That's interesting. I hadn't thought about that. So exactly what are we right here?
Right here, we would be in B.
Which means how likely?
17%.
So, okay.
Of seismic, activity.
So not great.
Not great, And then, like I say, and
interesting. All these little, I hadn't thought about that. I mean, you think about, we were talking about tornadoes and the things that could happen. That's something that could happen. You cannot ignore how Reelfoot Lake was formed. How far is Reelfoot Lake from here? Do you know?
I am not sure.
I'm not either. I remember visiting it as a child, but I don't recall exactly where it is. Talking with Trent Cobb about all things Robertson County related. We've talked about the implications of agriculture and building and things like that in regards to the tornado. Anything you think we're missing that we need to cover, Trent? Because you're going to keep feeding at the fairgrounds probably through tomorrow morning.
And obviously we'll stay as long as they need us.
Okay.
Of
course.
And hopefully, after that you always try to take the good out of this, and it's like, okay, the fair board, we are absolutely willing and have been talking to city leaders and county leaders saying, we will be the designated staging area, for that. I mean, because that's one thing, it was the old armory building, the fairgrounds.
Right.
And so we do have a vault inside there now that it could withstand whatever. I mean, it was there. It was the ammunition's vault. So
Really?
we're talking concrete.
Really?
Really, really, really thick. And so, but the building itself, is.
Fortified.
Yeah. So, and if you and it doesn't have to be a tornado, it could be any kind of, in this day and age, like if there's, and I hope and pray that it never happens, like a school shooting or something like that, and you need to evacuate kids, they come to the fairgrounds.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a central location, where, okay, we'll get them out of there. We'll get them transported down to the fairgrounds, and then, that's where they keep them safe until, parents or loved ones or whoever can come pick them up. So
all the things you have to think about this. And I've talked a lot with Ryan Martin, our city manager, with Mayor Billy Vogel about this when they've been in, especially right after the tornadoes in my hometown, because I posed the question, what would happen if this happened here? And they've all said, you don't want to think about it, but we believe we have in place what we need. And we've seen that in these last few days, that yes, you don't want to think about it, but we responded, and we responded well.
Yes.
And so you just got to really, the leadership we have in this county, guys, is impeccable.
Yeah.
It really is. You agree with everything. It does not matter. You've got good leadership. You've got good people, number one, who are,
They care about the community. They was raised in this community.
you better believe it. And they're godly people who pray over this county. And, that's one thing Lee Marie mentioned, and I haven't said anything about it yet, but this county was staked off. And if you've ever listened to the Steve Hemphill stuff talking about spiritual warfare and the implications of it, you need to check that out, because it is fascinating and there's something to it. There's what I mean by that, there's been prayer and dedication to this county, saying, God, watch over us. God, watch over us. Keep evil from us. And God didn't bring these tornadoes in. That's just a fallen world, and what happens when the world is broken, and we've been broken from the time when humanity fell, and we're still broken, and God intercedes, and not always in the way we want to, but He does intercede, and He does watch over us. And I believe with all my heart that God was absolutely interceding.
Yeah,
and helping us.
He uses it to show His love for us, through people. It's like, strangers that you've never met before. It's like, hey, come on in. I'm going to give you something to eat or give you a place to stay. That is absolute God's love right there.
You better believe it. It's like the scripture where it says, all things work to the glory for those who love the Lord, but not all things are good. But He will use even the bad things in our life, the tragedy that we have to deal with, to show His hands and feet through the people who, bring out that love. So talking with Trent Cobb, all things Robertson County, Cobb Hill Homes, the codes inspector, Cobb Hill Homes as in real estate, as in building. Are y'all still doing building?
We're still, I've got 4 customs going right now.
Okay.
And
only 4?
Only 4. And I'm hoping that, well, Dinah is definitely hoping, that when we get through with these, it'll be, my daughter Kristen, her and her husband, they might want to build 1 or 2, and just, but she wants to be completely out of the construction aspect of it. I would miss it, but this job, and like I say, I firmly believe God laid this job on me. I wasn't looking for this job. Mm-hmm. They called and asked me if I would be willing to consider being a codes guy, and I said absolutely. Mm-hmm. I would love to come talk to you about that. So.
Well, running a construction business, we were roofing contractors for 20 years, and it was a blessing. We just loved the experiences of it, but it's exhausting. I know exactly what Donna's talking about, because it's exhausting. If any kind of moisture got into a building that we had ever touched, they called us first. And it could be that their brick is leaking. I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
I mean, all kinds of things. We got calls on everything. And I just, I loved the customers and the things that we did. And it was a blessing for the time, but I was ready to close the door on that season.
Yeah.
And I just love, it's kind of like you said, the God thing that brought us into the teaching world has just been such a blessing to my husband and I. It's just incredible. We're just, if you're looking for your pathway, guys, just be praying.
And luckily, he went to the good school.
What are you saying?
Yeah, well, Springfield is, the
That's your alma mater, and I'm a Bobcat.
Yeah, but it's, we could get on that right there.
The rivalry.
Yeah.
Well, he's got he is helping coach. They sent him down to the middle school to really help with football, and then they're like, well, basketball, because he played he was.
Well, he's 12 foot tall.
He was an exceptional athlete in high school, and so they've got him helping with basketball right now, and so and it's at Coopertown because that's the one that feeds Springfield. And so he's at Coopertown, and they're playing the Bobcats tomorrow in the middle school. And I can't be there. I've got other things on my calendar, and I just can't be there. But I'm like, I'm not going to sit on your side, bud. I'm not cheering for against my kids.
Yeah.
So I'm a Bobcat.
Yeah. Well, Coopertown is absolute God's country, though.
Oh yeah, listen at you.
Yeah,
you. I love it. Love you, brother. Let me do my break for Cumberland Connect. Guys, if you're looking for high-speed internet and you're just wondering, oh my goodness, Cumberland Connect is fed by Cumberland Electric. If you're a Cumberland Electric customer, you are going to get access. If you haven't gotten it yet, you're probably there with Senator Kerry Roberts. I need to get an update from him and find out when they're going to come knocking on his door, because he's going to be one of the last because he's so close into town. But if you're looking for high-speed internet and you're one of those folks like myself that was very underserved, I'm just about to approach my 1-year anniversary with them, and it has been fabulous. There's been times when my power would go out, but because I have a generator, I'd fire up the generator and my internet still worked. It was amazing. And it is just fabulous because I'm a photographer and I do a lot of video and photography and all those kinds of things. I was having to go to my church, come up here to the radio station, wherever I happened to be that had good internet to be able to do my work. And now I can do it all from home. You may be able to do the same. If you want to find out if they're in your neighborhood, call them at 1-800-987-2362, 1-800-987-2362, or just go to cumberlandconnect.org, cumberlandconnect.org, put in your zip code, and they will tell you exactly when to expect them knocking on your door. They have still the check availability tab where you can click on that. You can find out, go about us, and they'll talk to you about the support if you click on the support button, I think is where you're going to find out about the Affordable Connectivity Program. Yes. There you can click on the Affordable Connectivity Program. If you're somebody that is struggling financially, they have programs because it's now a utility. It's replaced our phone lines to help people who are in a financial situation where they need some help to get high-speed internet, and you could qualify for up to $30 to help pay for broadband services, and they've got packages that start at just $30 per month. So go and talk to them and see what they have going on. You're going to love talking to the customer service department there. They're very responsive, just going to help you out no matter what you need. 1-800-987-2362, 1-800-987-2362. Cumberland Connect, one of our sponsors here at 1 Street Over. Tell them you turn us into. Trent Cobb is in the house talking about all things Robertson County, proud of our county and the response to the tornadoes of Saturday. Our thoughts, prayers with everybody that has lost work. Thinking about the Holmans, the whole family, part of that business. I'm not sure what their plans are. I'll reach out to Brian and see if I can't get him in here at some point, because I know there's a lot of people that are probably, God bless them. Here at Christmas, there's people that had jewelry there that they were going to pick up, and I can't imagine how bombarded they're getting with stuff like that.
Yeah, and just like I say, that stuff is pretty small, and you're digging around,
I can't imagine.
a needle in a haystack. So
yeah, that's just it.
But I am going to give one more plug to the Robertson County Development Office, is what I am part of. The people that I work with, we was talking just the other day that, we all enjoy going to work, because there is another big dysfunctional family up there, but,
that's funny.
And, when you're pulling your permits or anything like that, the people in that office now, they really care. They really want to be able to help you in any way they can. So I have to give them a plug. And I'm just thankful that I get to go there every day and work with them people.
That's awesome. So very good. Anything else? I think that's about got us there. We did an hour, no problem. I think we covered it all.
I think we did, and if didn't, we will come back and do it again some other time.
I'll always tell me real quickly, what will be the first event at the fairgrounds in the new year?
The first event at the fairgrounds, probably trading days.
Are we going to do a trading day?
We're going to do another trading day,
Good.
and Hunter Mantooth, if she's listening, she's going to kill me because she does not want to have anything to do with it because it's a lot of work, but she does a tremendous job. So Hunter Mantooth will be in charge of trading days.
Okay. So because we did the one in the fall, I guess it was in the fall. I can't remember.
Yeah,
kind of like
it was a storm blew through that day.
Yes, it did, but it was still a great event.
Oh yes.
It was a great event, so. And so that's good to know, and we'll keep our ear to the ground on that.
Yeah,
so
I'm hoping that we're going to do one in the spring. I'll
reach out to you guys. I'll reach out the first of the year and just kind of get an update. So y'all be getting your notes together.
Okay.
And who's the next president?
Chad.
Okay.
Gregory is going to roll
is he
back
taking
in.
over in January?
Yes, he'll take over in January.
Okay.
He wasn't supposed to roll back around yet, but he is actually on the Tennessee Association of Fairs. So.
Okay.
He couldn't be president, and when his term rolls around into the state association, there was going to be a conflict. So we put him in there.
Well, we'll get that update at first of the year. God bless you, brother.
Yes,
Merry
ma'am.
Christmas.
You too. Merry Christmas.
God bless you, and tell Donna and your whole family I said hi. And thank you guys for joining us for this episode of One Street Over. You stay with us because Lee Marie is coming up with the Go Show. And a little note, Lee Marie's going to join me tomorrow, 7 to 7:30, and we're going to talk about giving the gift of dance. I don't know if you know, she's an amazing dance instructor, and she's going to be talking about that tomorrow with me, 7 to 7:30, before the United Way comes in here. So join us for that, and join Lee Marie for the Go Show coming up next, right here on 1100 WSGI. God bless. Have a great day.